You're watching this week's show with Dan and Mike.
This week's show. This week's show.
It is this week's show.
It is this week's show podcast. So we are gonna dive in again to a band that we both love.
It's a deep dive.
And part of the reason for this is because of the fact they've released an album recently.
They have this year, yeah.
So of course, for those who know what our tastes are and have heard us talk about stuff before, it's Killswitch Engage. And they just released this Consequence, which I think we can both say is
Chef's Kiss.
going to be a contender for our top 10 album of the year, within the top 10.
Yeah, at the moment, I think it's between them and Ghost. And Ghost haven't released their album yet.
Whereas,
just predicting, you know.
off of Album Club particularly, where I really focused in on the album, Killswitch aren't getting number one, because Architects, if it's between the two, Architects will get higher.
It's down to personal preference.
Well, as we were talking off air, just before we recorded this, you did make the point that Architects are still hungry and pushing to get to like the highest level, whereas Killswitch are a bit older, obviously.
Yeah.
They're maintaining the popularity they have, and they're also in a very different place life-wise, being older, and that means that they're writing differently and they're doing different things. So it's becoming more appropriate music for me and you.
Young at heart.
But yeah, we're not here to talk about this Consequence. You can go listen to that
Not
one.
entirely.
No.
We'll get some mentions.
But we want to do a deep dive because we both have a very long history in different ways with Killswitch Engage.
Yes. Yes, we do.
I was going to say, you, I think, very much claim the first couple of interviews with, or you claim the first Jesse Leach interview, not strictly with Killswitch.
It wasn't, no.
But at Times of Grace, we even have interviews back on our YouTube channel of when they released, oh, damn it, I had it in my head just before I said. Songs of Loss and Separation, I think.
Hymns of...
No, Hymns of Broken Man's the first one, and I think the second is Songs of Loss and Separation.
Yeah, but Hymns of Broken Man's when I interviewed Jesse at Dann.
And there's a little thing that happened just before that interview with me and Jesse where I technically met him for the first time. We'll get into that in a bit. But you also, the first time that we ever did press stuff together at a festival, we had done like one gig together where you got me to come down and meet Herman Lee as you interviewed
Oh,
him.
yeah, Dragon Force.
In Cornwall, where we've never been to that venue ever again.
Well, to be fair, it was one of the last gigs in that venue, and then they redid it and rebuilt it. It's now more theatre and you know, Fisherman's Friends play there often, that kind of thing. Not really tech metal-y kind of shreddy music goes on in there.
And especially when you look at, I can still remember the lineup, and this will get you it, and this is all original members of each of these bands, because it was Dragon Force with ZP still as the frontman. It was Sabaton with their original guitarists.
Yes.
It was Heart of a Coward, whilst it still had Jamie Graham and Timothy in it.
Yeah.
And original glam metal with the dark hair and like the big sort of hairspray hair of Glamour of the Kill.
Who we then subsequently booked for ourselves.
But that's when they switched to like the Americanized version of them. It still amazes me.
Post-emo?
Yeah, post-emo glam. Like, we had this weird era at that gig, which was just really fun to do. And then the first download we did, one of the huge moments, not one of the ones we talked about where I sprint across people's interviews, was...
That's very unprofessional.
Yeah.
We'd never do that.
Not now, but I did then. But you got something that you've redone recently. The most recent interview with Killswitch was Mike D and you.
It was a month ago when the album came out, which you can find on our Spotify or other streaming services, wherever you like to listen to our radio show.
And let us know in the comments what you think of any of those services. It's just us and our manager looking at the comments. But you have been originally on that first download we did together, also did a Mike D interview.
I believe so, yeah.
And then he's such a genuine guy that he realised that I was probably the fanboy that had been taken along to take a few pictures.
You were geeking out, weren't you?
Yeah, so he waited with us for a good 10-15 minutes, chatted to you loads about artwork and the show, because he's still the artist of Killswitch Engage. He does all the album covers, t-shirt designs, everything.
There's a very interesting bit in the interview that I've just done, which I mentioned just now. about the new album where he's got like marionette dolls and all that kind of stuff, and he had to learn how to shoot photos and pictures of still.
Yeah.
Instead of being creative in his mind, it's like using photos of something I've got physical.
Yeah. In that case, definitely go back and watch that one, because he's always been quite the interesting artist for Killswitch.
Hell yeah.
But like I said, I just remember that even at that point, that was when Jesse had just got back into the band, and we both ended up with a little band photo of Jesse, Adam, and Mike D. And if I were to post this between us, because I think I still have a copy of it, you can see just how ill I actually was, and the reason why Mike was doing his best as my friend rather than my work colleague to cheer me up.
I do try my best.
So that was like, in many ways, our start. Then I think the next interview we had with them was Adam D.
In Cardiff.
The famous Adam D one.
That was, yeah.
So,
interesting.
Again, I can, future Dan, cut the bit with the question here, because we know we still got it. But the weirdest question I've ever asked is about to be here. Would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 50 duck-sized horses?
I'm a lover, not a fighter, but I like the idea of fighting a duck. That'd be amazing. Yeah, I'll take the duck. That would just be funny.
It's on. Wow.
But I'm normally scared of things that are larger than me.
Is a horse larger than you?
Well, if it's a duck-sized horse. Sad, right?
No, a horse-sized duck. So.
Then I was taking it back, thinking maybe the what was it? The question again?
Would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 50 duck-sized horses?
Right. So the duck-sized horses, I might do better with, because I would be less scared because they're smaller. Yeah.
Seamless. And so yeah, that question, I've never survived that question, have I?
It still keeps popping up.
Yeah, it still follows me around.
Which would you fight?
I'm still about the 50 duck-sized horses.
I think that's probably mine as well.
Yeah, because Adam D makes a good point about the beak. On a horse-sized duck, that is a big beak.
Oh my god, yeah, it's going to be like
And,
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Tyrannosaurus Rex, if it had feathers.
But little horses like this,
You could stamp on them.
you can stamp on them or
Kick them out of the way.
Yeah.
That,
They'll nip at you.
yeah. It's
Ankle biters.
Tiny
You're like a
little-
little Jack Russell with feathers.
yeah. Really high-pitched names.
My Little Pony.
I mean, there would be so many people out there that if there was a horse the size of a duck, that would be their pet.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's why we have cats. Is they're just perfect size, and I've noticed now that we've not locked my door, so we may get my cat pushing it open again and coming back in like he did on a previous episode. Just going on the interviews thing, because there's only a couple more things I want to cover interview-wise, is one of the few times that I went to see Killswitch without you, it was Trivium and Killswitch in Southampton. I took a friend that we used to do bits with, and I was interviewing somebody like Battle Axe or something like that. I don't think that's...
Battle Beast, wasn't it?
No, it's something to do with Axe, Power Axe or something like that. Really cool band, really lovely guy, and he felt really sorry for me because the interview had finished. I went to pull my bag back over the top of my head, and I pulled my top cartilage piercing, which was the lobret, so it had a little flat back. I pulled the flat back halfway through my ear, and it got lodged in there. And then we had no time whatsoever, jumped straight into an interview with Killswitch, where come the end of the interview we finally shut off the cameras, and is it Joel, I think, was that one? He's like, dude, what's going on with your ear? And I realised that I am just pissing blood all the way down my ear, and in front of Joel, because that's when we realised I had caught the lobret in it. And he was like, oh, what are you going to do? I was like, don't worry, I got this. And then I just popped it back out my ear. To which I got a fist bump of, dude, that was pretty brutal. But tell you what, I played it cool whilst I was still in front of the band member, and then as soon as I got out, oh, my eyes started going, like everything.
Wound up. It was an emotional interview.
It was a very emotional interview. And then we've kind of just touched base on them over the years. Like I did a Times of Grace interview with Adam D. did, and then for me it took Mike barely any time into his presenting career to do Jesse Leach for the first time, and then I met him multiple times. Like, we would constantly run into each other, there'd be handshakes, he even jumped the artist, like beer garden fence at Download to come give me a hug and a selfie because I was wearing the cancer support t-shirt.
Very limited edition, which you got.
And I don't have anymore because my ex took it. I thought at the time it would be a really sweet thing to do, and now I really miss that t-shirt. Not that I could fit into it anymore because I'm old and fat. He came over and gave me a hug because that was, I can't remember exactly the circumstance of it anymore, but I know it was very close to Jesse's heart, what we were raising money for with that t-shirt. So you were just sat doing some work on the computer.
Probably.
I come bustling back in and just going to show you a selfie of me with Jesse Leach, like, every time you leave for food. Which did start something we said when we're talking about probably downloads at some point in the next couple of weeks. The selfie competition years that we had, because there was about 2-3 years where we would play selfie competitions, and there is some pretty good stories as to the best one that you got,
Iced tea!
and the best one that I got being
Very big, wasn't it?
yeah, and her bouncer, because she had a bouncer, nearly ended my life. So there is a story there, but we'll keep on Kill Switch for the moment, because those that know, we've even posted it in our podcast, is a couple of years back when Kill Switch headline Bloodstock. Finally got a chance to actually chat to Jesse Leach. And
wearing pink.
Whilst wearing pink and white, wasn't wearing any metal colours whatsoever.
You, not Jesse. Jesse was in his battle jacket.
Exactly. But the main thing that I loved, that wasn't actually to do with the interviews, I told him that a friend of mine had to give up their ticket to Bloodstock because they had been made guardian of 3 little boys and just did not want to risk putting them into like babysitting for a weekend or anything like that. And so I told Jesse, I was like, is there any chance that maybe you could just do a quick video to her just saying, well done, this is what you should be doing, I think you're an amazing person type of thing, because I do think that's amazing to give up something as important as, because it's favourite band, headlining a favourite festival, to do that to make sure some little guys that needed a guardian had it, that's incredible. Jessie agreed, and so she ended up getting a personalised message from her favourite band saying well done for not coming.
And it didn't even have the Cameo logo on it.
It didn't, and I didn't have to pay for it either. So that's
probably paid for it with Heatstroke that year. It was a war, wasn't it?
I mean, I did. I was very happy that I was wearing pink and white because I wasn't attracting as much sun as wearing black.
No.
So
you're just attracting looks of metalers going on.
Well, there was.
It was for charity.
Yeah, I was going to say away from you as well. As I was walking out of the campsite that we had just to get back into the arena, and quite distant, walking away, there was this dude, like slightly portly ginger gentleman, wearing exactly the same t-shirt. So we pointed at each other from like 50 metres away, and then slow motion runned towards each other the whole way, and then just embraced.
That's the love of the metal community.
Especially at Bloodstock. And we're whispering like this most stupid shit in each other's ears, like, I've been waiting all weekend for this. I can't believe I found you. And then it was just fist bumps, and we carried on our way. But that, if you're wondering, like parents, if you're watching this because your kids are into metal and you're wondering what metalheads are like, we look aggressive, we look like we're going to be the worst people to spend time with. But that's more what happens at metal festivals than anything else.
It's a love fest.
It's Coachella for metalheads.
Yeah, well, maybe.
With alcohol rather than everything else.
I couldn't say I've never been to Coachella.
The only reason I say that is our blog last year. Somebody did say that the way we made it look, 'cause it was so sunny and just like the really friendly interactions and everything like that. And I was saying to them, I was like, that's just Bloodstock. Like, yeah, we framed it well and it was a fun vlog to make, but that is also just the way that people are at Bloodstock. You put a camera near some people wearing some interesting clothes and they literally start performing for you.
And if you're interested in going, you have to wait till next year because it's completely sold out. I think even the day tickets have gone.
And all of the worker slots have been filled, so you can't even be a first aider and then get like a bit of time off to watch a band. And we've already had indications that accreditation is already tight, so we will be applying to go back there because it's an amazing lineup, and we really do have a lot of love for Bloodstock. We took a few years off to do other festivals, and then just wanted to go back because we missed it so much.
So you mentioned it just now.
Yes.
Switch have got a new album out, but they've had so many more with different singers as well.
Well, this is the thing. So they Alive or Just Breathing was Jesse Leach, their first one, and that sort of broke them past being a regional band and got them a bit national in America.
Yeah.
But then it was when they got Hojo, Howard Jones, involved for when Jesse left, and they were starting to tour the world. I still remember seeing a documentary that they made. Is that when they started playing the starting notes of End of Heartache, the track, for the first time, they could not believe the response they got from people.
It was their breakthrough track, wasn't it?
100%. It also went on like
Amazing.
Resident Evil, I think, the first one. That it was like a half theme song, a bit like Metallica and Limp Bizkit did Mission Impossible 2. They weren't, Limp Bizkit was actually the theme song, but Metallica did I Disappear for it. And for Resident Evil, Killswitch did, I think it's Resident Evil. Call me out in the comments if I got it wrong.
That's what level.
Yeah, to tell me that I got my details wrong. It's a bit like QI, you have to fact check us. But no, Hojo was a very interesting era because and this is weird to say because now you have so many talented vocalists. I'm thinking like Sam Carter from Architects, Bad Omens, I can't remember the guy's name from Catch Your Breath. But you could probably name as many artists that are actually really, really, really talented singers doing big notes.
Yeah.
Whereas back in those days, you either sang or you just did gutturals and screaming. Hojo was probably the guy that popularised it the most. I know he's not the first, but he did do it the most. Of screaming the verses, singing the choruses, or some variation thereof.
Yeah.
And the End of Heartache track being particularly a good example is we just weren't used to having like big, clean vocals in the middle of a screamy track.
He's got a big depth to his lungs that he can just draw out these long sustained.
Well, he even says that he won't, where a lot of vocalists will like sort of crunch themselves down. It's why he always was one of those ones with a hand behind his back and keeping everything like that.
Chest open.
And then back in the day, it was he was the member of Killswitch that looked a bit different to everybody else in the way that he dressed.
Yeah, first time I saw them backstage or in the media area, the very first download I did. He was in a proper gentleman's suit, just wandering around.
Looking dapper as hell.
Yeah.
And they had so much love for each other. And what's great is, for those who somehow missed it, because it's really difficult to miss how much every member of Killswitch, past or present, gets on these days. But they had so much love for Howard, the way that he performed and the difference that he brought, that when he left, and what's really great about this is he left for some pretty big personal problems that then man
went
and conquered those personal problems and got better at managing them. He wouldn't say that they're gone, but I would say that they're definitely much better managed these days.
Yeah.
From physical health to mental health.
Well, that's what Killswitch mainly is about, is positive mental attitude.
Yes. I was an angry
strength of the mind.
literally a track. So they've done tracks together. Adam D and Hojo have now got a new project together.
Yeah.
There's just so much love. Jesse Leach, when he rejoined Killswitch,
after auditioning to get back into the band,
auditioned for the band that he created with the other guys, he called up Hojo and was like, okay, so talk to me about these emotions. Tell me what feelings you had. He's like, I'm not interested in the way you sang it. I'm interested in what the songs mean to you.
That's it.
And
they are. There's some, you're pouring your heart and soul into a song.
Yeah.
And then someone else has got to take over and sing it and might not pick up on the smallest little, sort of
nuances.
Nuance of a word. If you just finish that word this way, that's how I feel, kind of thing.
I know that
they work together to make that happen. So now Jesse obviously has made Howard's songs his own, but he knows where they're coming from and Howard's state of mind and the writing place and who it's actually, geared towards. It's like, this is a song about love and falling in love, or this is a song about
grief management.
that kind of thing. It's I've said it before, but Howard, sorry, it was his vocals kind of more softer and loving, then you can feel the joy in his writing. Whereas Jesse, you can feel that it's come from a place of pain a lot of the time. And this is his way of getting it out of his system. It's the pain in his voice, but he manages to articulate it in such a way that it comes out as positive pain.
I know exactly. 100%. Purge tracks.
You use the pain as strength to conquer the demons, kind of thing.
Well, even back
the lyrics, I'm sure.
I was gonna say, even back when Hojo was in Killswitch and Jesse was out, they would still perform together. I'm thinking like Roadrunner United back in the day when they did that tour. They would come out and do My Last Serenade together. Stuff like that.
They've done a song together as well.
That's since. So when Jesse came back. Not the first album or the second album back, but the third one with Jesse, Signal Fire.
Yeah, it's a standalone track, it's not an album.
No, Signal Fire's on Atonement.
Is it?
Yeah, pretty confident. But
again, comment.
You
have a go at me now.
So I got 2 questions for you. Firstly, do you have a top album? And I'll just remind you, it's Alive or Just Breathing, End of Heartache, As Daylight Dies, Self-Titled, Disarmed Descent, Incarnate, Atonement, and now This Consequence.
Disarmed Descent.
Yeah, no, me too. Even though
got my favourite song that they've ever done on it.
Which is?
Always.
And that was going to be my next question is, do you have a favourite song? Funnily enough, for how much I love My Last Serenade, if I had a top 3, it would be My Last Serenade and End of Heartache.
Okay.
But then for me, because again, what the emotions attached to it, what it means, and how it makes me feel every time I hear the starting riff, my favourite track's In Due Time.
It is good.
It's just something that just makes me... That one, I kind of preserve it. If I know that I have a chance of turning my mood around with music, rather than doing the purge that we're talking about, In Due Time is one that really does help me get my head cleared. Like if I need to get fired up to go to work or something like that.
So it's on every morning.
But yeah, In Due Time actually outclasses Last Serenade.
Outclasses?
Yeah, I love those tracks, but In Due Time means more to me.
I'll probably go Always, This Fire.
Yeah.
It's hard because there's so many that can fill 3, 4 and 5. But I'm on the spot. My Last Serenade, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a banger. I was listening to it in preparation for this deep dive, and you can't help but it's a it just gets you going.
But then also they've got the cover that always fills a dance floor as well.
Yes, which is
it's a cover of Dio's song.
Holy Riser? Holy Diver.
Holy Diver, yeah. Originally done by Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah.
And there's a really good photo that went around years ago when Ronnie, rest in peace, was still around. And he stood outside Killswitch's dressing room. He's pointing at the sign that says Killswitch and Killswitch dressing room star or something.
Yeah.
And the caption underneath is from Ronnie saying, "You owe me royalties."
The thing is I love Ronnie so much that he was one of the first people to celebrate their cover of it.
Yeah.
Saying,
if you get a thumbs up from Ronnie, then it's cool. You know, he invented the horns.
And he did. Okay, not going to hear otherwise. Ronnie invented the horns.
Yeah,
trust
you can come at us in the comments.
Yeah.
But
it's been proven. He was, and the funny thing is everybody argued about it until Ronnie died. And then everybody went, actually, no, we don't need to argue anymore. He was actually one that did it. Interestingly enough, because I had to take into consideration something that we did about 10 years ago now, when it came to the favourite track. Because End of Heartache isn't just a jam, it is also...
it's also a million hitting...
1.2 million views. Yeah. So we were in the like sort of post-Christmas... quiet period of the industry. I'm just a bit bored one day. We lived together at the time, and I showed Mike something that I'd showed him before, and you had played it on the radio show. We had known about this for years, and it came off of when I was hanging out with a group of friends. We realised that if you play tracks at 1.5, like everybody kind of realises, it goes chipmunk and kind of funny. So we decided to start doing it to metal, and the first one I did was End of Heartache, and we couldn't believe it. because genuinely, and I'll cut a clip in from the video, but genuinely, Howard Jones, with the deep and resonant, beautiful voice that he has, when you speed it up to 1.5, he sounds like a pop princess. Future Dan, give us a couple of seconds of that.
Disney love.
Yeah. So, like, we'd always laughed about it, like, and we'd had it around for a good 5 years or so without doing anything with it. And then we sat there bored at home, and we were like, well, what if we try posting it and using all of our networks just to give it a bit of a bump? So we had another housemate at the time that was quite good at analytics. So we get the video all made, we put it online. You gave it a push through like a bazillion different pages and groups that we had at the time for the stations that we used to be on and things like that. And to begin with, we didn't think much was going to happen. And then,
what you say to begin with for the first hour.
Yeah. By hour 2, we were already at 10,000 views, and the housemate that we had was tracking where these views were coming in from, and we watched this video loop the world multiple times.
Yeah, in some of the countries, you're like, do they even know what metal is, or a Disney princess? Or...
Yeah, like, it was amazing. And what was great is in the first like 48 hours, we got most of the million views. It was something like 900,000 views in 48 hours, and then it took us it's still pretty high. Like most of the last views that got us over 1 million was when we repushed it a year later to get the anniversary.
But it also got picked up by
Empiricon
and AP and all these little
Blabbermouth.
Yeah, all these outlets that nowadays
probably shut down or under a different name, maybe.
Different name, or just pushing on TikTok.
Yeah,
that's what we should do. We should post it out through our TikTok. See what happens.
We are still the famous video. Do you remember at that point there was that copycat video thing that would steal people's videos.
Yeah.
And try and decredit them, and they tried to steal our video, and our lawyer got involved and shut it down, and we were one of the only people to make that particular Facebook page take down a video because we scared them so badly. It was brilliant. I'm not sure if the footage has survived multiple purges online, because I have played it to both Howard Jones, but there's a reason why I never posted that. And Mike D, funnily enough, when I interviewed him, one of the times that we've interviewed Killswitch, Mike D absolutely loved it. He had never...
You took the phone, didn't you? And went and showed the rest of the band.
So we've actually shown Killswitch our silly video. Just let this play through for a second. Now, what we're saying earlier about Howard Jones being quite ill, is we happened to have an interview set up right at the point that he was working out how bad his sort of problems were and trying to start the process. Now there's a really good conclusion to this because he was still professional enough to give me a good interview, but when I whipped out a phone that made him sound like a Disney princess, wasn't that impressed. He never gave me a hard time, he was never nasty.
Okay. What I'll do is stop you there because when you shoot videos, sometimes you actually have to sing it faster or slower depending on how they film it. So it's like, heard it at that speed.
Have you?
Yes, I have.
No, but we just wanted to play it to you because essentially I made a challenge on the radio show that hit 1 million views in a year, which it did.
Wow.
I would play it to you when I met you for the first time.
So it really got that many views?
You can actually see it down the bottom there.
Don't you owe me money?
If I made a single dime off this, you would be welcome to it. Nothing has been made.
I have no idea how that works. So
not even slightly, no. It's like I said, just done for the love of it. Thank you.
Well, that's awesome.
Hojo, you were always the most professional man in the world, but it wasn't the thing that we wanted because it was kind of a bit flat and everything like that.
He was in a bad place.
Very, very bad place. And the conclusion that's lovely is we touched base with him about 3 or 4 years later, in Bristol still, not the same venue, but very close. And about halfway through the interview that I was doing with him, he suddenly remembered who I was. Waited until the cameras went off, but you can see the moment where he's like,
it dawns. It's like,
yeah. Oh, it's you. And then as soon as the cameras are off, it was like a 5-minute apology that he gave me, which I didn't need. Like, he's welcome to have a bad time because he's still professional. But he's like, no, you had this amazing video that had like 1 million views. And he's like, and I just did nothing with it. And he's like, didn't give you a good reaction to it whatsoever. He's like, but I also did check your networks. He's like, you never posted my bad reaction. I was like, well, no, I didn't want you to have this thing that you weren't excited about being put to your name apart from the original video. I was like, that felt unprofessional to me. And he was like, if only we could do it again now. He's like, but I know about it now.
Yeah.
He's like, but do you want to know what's fun here? I was like, what? He's like, other people have now shown me it because it has 1 million views. So other people have shown Howard Jones the video that I made off of my personal Facebook profile. So he's had it come back up multiple times. Sorry, Howard.
I reckon it really would work on TikTok.
I even if we only do like a chorus or so. Because I don't think the whole video...
Well, yeah, it's only got to be 15 seconds
exactly.
on TikTok.
So watch this space. We may put that up as a reel. But yeah, it's just amazing to see, like, for a band that held themselves up a bit like we loved everything that Linkin Park's been doing recently. It's a band that's always talked heavily about mental health and had some pretty epic struggles. It's so good to see that the members that are still able to perform and are still around, that they're still trying to search for that better management, that better health, that processing things through the
way though, isn't it? You think you've found a way of dealing with your mental health and you find a nice plateau, and then all of a sudden mental health turns around and goes, fuck, I'm coming after you, I found a loophole, and then you're like, I was doing so well.
I love that. Found a loophole to get back in and rock you when you're least expecting it. Yeah, that is such a good description.
And that's constant. And when you close that loophole and you have a time of peace and tranquility within your mind, and all of a sudden it comes up again. It's a constant, and you've just got to learn how to deal with it and move on. And you can talk about it, or go out and do some exercise if it's just for a day, or you could go to our Spotify playlist and put on our positive mental attitude playlist thing.
Also, at the bottom of all of our videos is our playlist for things like that. Another thing as well, which I always try and say to people that talk to me about struggles, is having a wobble doesn't mean that you're actually taking a step back.
No.
In fact, if you wobble in place, then you're literally not taking a step back. You're just taking a hot sack. So if the
people wobble when they don't fall down.
Yeah. So if you do find that if the depression, the anxiety, or anything that you're dealing with finds that loophole, it doesn't take away the progress that you've already made.
No.
It just
you plug that loophole quite. Once you've learned the mechanisms to be able to deal with things like that, when something pops up and gives you that kind of kick where you don't need it to, you're strong enough to be able to close it down. And if you're not 100%. Strong enough, there is definitely oodles of help out there to be able to deal with it and then shut it down and move on. And it doesn't have to be your life. It doesn't have to take over your life. It can feel like that at times, but
you are still you.
You're still you.
And the main thing that we would advise, whether it needs to be through social groups, family. And in the UK, we work with Andy's Man Club, which provides a place to do this. If you're at the fucking feathered edge of bad mental health, there's people like the Samaritans, or the number in America that
0800
something. We don't know because we're not American. No. I will put the number up. These services are all there for people that need to talk, and it doesn't matter whether you're feeling like you're going to do something really stupid or you just need somebody to talk to. That's what these services are for. As 100%. Well as we've bettered our own mental health by talking to each other over the years, because just talking about it, like we had a point where we never talked about stuff, and then one of the sort of first times we did, we realised that actually we're struggling with a lot of similar-ish stuff. So there was immediate understanding, which made it easier for us to carry on doing what we were doing, as well as we kind of pool ideas on how to deal with stuff. And at the moment, we've talked about on the podcast, we're both working on our physical health to assist the old mental health.
It does.
Because if the body's working right and you're not putting crap into it every day like I was doing, then you do get better. I even went to the doctors, found out that I am like pre-diabetic, and I really need to manage my sugar. But as soon as I actually got that information, I looked after the old body better. My brain is a lot more stable. It's not completely stable, and there's a lot of loopholes that my depression finds to come poke at me. But talk when it happens. I talk to my boy. I talk to our manager, who's currently sat behind the camera, or family. Is what we try and do.
Or you can listen to music, because especially the lyrics of Kill Switch Engage, I always relate back to them. If I'm feeling a bit, it's not just the music, it's the lyrical content. And on a lot of streaming platforms now, if you can't understand the heavy metalness of some of the lyrics, you can go on to, say, Spotify, click on it, and the lyrics are there, and sometimes the lyrics are just pure poetry, and it's like,
also,
this guy understands how I'm feeling, but it also has got some thundering bass and some drums and
not only that, if you check the lyrics, then Jesse Leach won't call you out on Twitter when you think you know the lyrics and you put the wrong thing up, which was the only time he ever responded to me on Twitter. Was to correct me.
But that's because he knew about you. He was aware of you from the... we mentioned it at the top of this podcast, but it's the perfect way to end.
Oh, God. Okay.
Dan almost fatally wounded Jesse Leach.
So this...
a couple of days before I interviewed him at that download we were on about earlier.
You could see the marks and didn't realise it was me until you got back from download. So
I did this.
I was very drunk in Portsmouth for the Times of Grace.
The only way to be in there.
Yeah, the Times of Grace warm-up show for download. So of course, by the time that they come on, I am super excited. I've watched Kill Switch many times by this point, but to watch Jesse Leach, now an easy thing to do, perform, was huge to me. So I was very drunk. And it was only about a 300 capacity venue. It wasn't big at all.
Well, it's a warm-up show for download.
Exactly.
A day or so before.
So Jesse's the type of person that when he wants to get into the crowd, he gets into the crowd. So it took him a while because he was warming up back into, and it's particularly a metal gig in the UK, they can be pretty rowdy and pretty grabby. But what you don't expect as a vocalist is that, because I explained it to him years later, what actually happened is, from his perspective, some absolute in the crowd scratched his face.
This guy.
From my perspective, I got overexcited and tripped as I was running forward to sort of do the high five that he was offering out to everybody. But instead of high fiving him, I tripped and missed and then scratched his face. Actually,
Wolverine bit.
And he literally jumped back off the barrier, straight up onto stage, finished the song and went, "Guys, I love you, but whoever scratched my face, f*** you." And that was me. I'm so sorry, Jesse. I've apologised pretty much every time, and he still remembers it because obviously the apologising every time keeps it in his mind.
He's probably had to have quite extensive plastic surgery, put his face back together.
Oh, just put a flesh plug in the middle of the cheek or something like that.
That's why he's always bearded now.
Yeah, he's trying to cover up the scars that I left on his face.
Yeah.
But no, he was such a gentleman about it when because I explained, I said I was mortified. He was like, he said it wasn't strictly that. He's like, it's the crowd interaction as well. He's like, but even the scratch to the face, he's like, it kind of reminded me why I was a metalcore vocalist. He's like, because I like the rowdy, I like that energy. He's like, he's like, first gig in the UK, he's like, I really didn't expect my face to get scratched. He's like, but it's so lovely, like a couple of years later, to find out that it wasn't malicious, it was just some drunk guy fell over.
Plus he's from a punk background, he grew up listening to punk and pogoing and...
all of it, and he was two-stepping before he joined us on the crowd.
Yeah.
Just skanking me. And so yeah, that is, I'm never ever going to live that down. It's one of those silly things that now I'm such a older person. I haven't drunk for 7 years. I don't even go into pits anymore. So there's no chance of me ever hurting you again, Jesse. And we have been stood.
Saying that you're going to whack a microphone in his
mouth. That's probably my luck, isn't it? Next time I interview him, somehow I'm going to end up stringing him up by his ankle with a mic lead, and he's just going to be dangling over a press area, or like something stupid like that. So yeah,
perhaps it's my turn to interview Jesse.
But yeah, that's pretty much our deep dive. I think I've got no points left on my little pad that I've been checking on.
Nice. In that case, we should sign off and say, don't forget our radio show is weekly, drops on a Monday on pretty much every streaming service that you can think of. But if you want to get it before that, it premieres at 10 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. Eastern in the States on rockrageradio.com, which is across the States.
I mean, you can listen to it in the UK. We use the online player for it as well. Yeah. But yeah, if you fancy doing the first listen, especially if you're excited for any of our interviews, same as if you're commenting here or listening to the show, if you like our interview style and you go, this band would be really good for you guys to interview, let us know in the comments who we should interview. If we're at a festival where they're there, we can ask for them, we can see what happens. Same with our features. If you know a good cover track that you think that we should probably have on the covers, let us know. Let us know your positive mental health tracks as well, because if we don't have bands suggesting them, then we look at the fan suggested stuff as well.
Yeah, so, and it doesn't have to be rock and metal. Like for instance, a week or so ago on our show, we actually played Stevie Wonder. With
Superstition?
It was.
Yeah, fantastic.
But then followed it up with the most gruesome kind of band afterwards, but it worked.
No algorithm can make our show. No algorithm. So yeah, until next week, where I think we're going to do a little bit of we're excited for festivals.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
So we're going to do a little bit about that. Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Thank you for watching our deep dive on Killswitch Engage and all the members of Killswitch Engage as well. That was quite an embarrassing one for me. I don't know whether it's embarrassing myself with Jesse Leach, having blood pour down my ear, or going back over some of the previous footage and looking at the reactions from Howard Jones and from Mike D back in the day. So we decided to add them because it's a moment in history for us. So yeah, next week, as we just said on the full podcast, we're going to be getting into some of the craziness that we've got up to at previous festivals. That's going to be like Slam Dunk, Download, Bloodstock, 2000 Trees, Reading. We're not sure which ones we're going to delve into yet or if we're going to do all of them, so make sure you tune in next week.